You are not watching this by accident. That statement is not symbolic. It is procedural. What you are about to hear was never designed for the general population. It circulates through narrow channels. It reaches people with a specific internal configuration. People who already carry alignment. People who already operate under protection. People who already love God, not loudly, not performatively, not for approval, but with a quiet, immovable gravity that shapes reality around them. That is why it reached you. You have noticed something about your life that others cannot articulate. Pressure appears before progress. Delays form without explanation. Resistance shows up without a visible opponent. Exhaustion arrives even when you have done nothing wrong. Loneliness persists even in rooms full of people. Confusion hovers, not because you lack intelligence, but because too many systems are adjusting around you at once. This is not dysfunction. This is classification. People like you are logged differently, at exactly 03p17, long before you noticed anything was happening. A threshold was crossed, not in the world, in you. A record was updated. A flag was raised. No announcement was made. There never is. When God marks someone internally, the adjustment happens silently. The noise comes later, disguised as stress, pressure, and fatigue. This is the first loop. An unseen intervention was initiated around your life. It would have broken most people. When divine alignment activates, resistance does not attack directly. It compresses, it delays, it drains. It waits for self-doubt to do the work. Most people collapse here. They interpret the pressure as failure. They disengage. They abandon devotion. They negotiate their values. You didn't. You continued loving God without demanding immediate proof. You kept your internal posture intact even when nothing outside confirmed it. You didn't even realize that this alone neutralized the interference. That quiet tiredness you feel is not weakness. It is evidence of sustained output under unseen load. Only a few experience this. By UR 6042, secondary pressure systems engaged. These are subtle. They target perception. They create the feeling that time is slipping, that others are advancing faster, that your pace is wrong. This pressure is calibrated. It is meant to fracture trust. Others wouldn't survive this. You did not panic. You adapted automatically. You slowed where others rushed. You waited where others forced outcomes. You thought you were hesitating. You weren't. You were being held. This is why you're different. People who love God at this level don't need constant reassurance. They operate on internal confirmation. That is rare. That is monitored. If what I am saying is registering, you will already feel the internal click. Not excitement. Recognition. This is the point where alignment is acknowledged. When you press like on this video, it is not engagement, it is confirmation. It signals recognition of what is already true. People who don't understand won't feel compelled to do it. You will, because you know what this is. The next loop tightens. At 11:09, interference escalated. This phase introduces isolation, not physical solitude, strategic emotional distance. Conversations feel thin. Connections feel misaligned. Even familiar environments feel slightly off. This normally drives people to seek noise, validation, distraction. You didn't. You stayed quiet. You withdrew without bitterness. You observed. You thought something was wrong with you. You were wrong about that. This isolation is not abandonment. It is insulation. God does not expose sensitive instruments to static. People like you are temporarily separated when recalibration is occurring. Others experience this as rejection. You experienced it as heaviness. That heaviness is the weight of protection. You didn't even realize it. At 14:26, an internal audit occurred. This is where unresolved patterns surface. Old thoughts, old fears, old memories. They rise suddenly, without trigger. This is often misdiagnosed as regression. It isn't. It's extraction. Most people resist this. They numb it. They distract themselves. They refuse to look. You let it pass through you. That uncomfortable self-awareness you felt was not self-criticism. It was clarity. You were watching outdated data being cleared. That is strength. That is trust. Only a few experience this. By now, the pressure should have forced you into compromise. That is the expected outcome. The record shows you did not comply. This is why delays keep showing up in your life, not because you are behind, but because timing is being guarded. Some outcomes cannot be rushed without damage. You are being preserved for precision. If you are still listening, you are already part of the smaller subset. You already know this isn't motivational language. This is operational language. In the middle phase, participation is logged. Commenting is not expression, it is identification. When you comment a word like protected or a number like 777, it isn't symbolic. It marks acknowledgement. It places you in the visible layer of the unseen group. Others will scroll past. You won't, because this isn't new information to you. It's remembered information. The next loop activates deeper resistance. At 2133, fatigue intensified without proportional activity. This confuses most people. They assume something is wrong physically or mentally. Sometimes that's true. Here, it isn't. This level of fatigue appears when output is happening on layers you are not consciously accessing. You are processing more than you see, holding more than you feel, carrying weight that isn't yours alone. Others would collapse under this. You normalized it. You continued functioning. You continued believing. Continued loving without theatrics, without announcement, without bargaining. That calm persistence is not ordinary. By 2701, pressure attempted to introduce doubt disguised as logic. Thoughts framed as being realistic, lowering expectations, protecting yourself. These are sophisticated tactics. They sound reasonable. They are corrosive. You noticed them and didn't attach. You didn't fight them either. You let them pass. That neutrality is advanced. That is mastery. This is why you're different. People like you don't need to be convinced of God's presence. You operate as if it's a given. That alone shifts probabilities around you. The system recognizes this. At 3348, alignment stabilized. This is where most people expect fireworks. They expect reward. They expect relief. Instead, you felt quiet. That quiet is not emptiness. It is clearance. Noise dropped because interference lost access. The absence of chaos felt unfamiliar. You mistook peace for stagnation. You didn't realize the war had moved away from you. From this point forward, awareness becomes the only requirement. Not effort, not healing, not transformation. You are not becoming anything. You already demonstrated it. Subscribing and activating notifications at this stage is not about updates. It is about staying within the channel where information meant for people like you continues to flow. Others won't notice when it appears. You will, because you're already tuned. The final loop closes quietly. There is nothing left for you to prove. No threshold you haven't crossed. No test you failed. The very fact that you endured without spectacle confirms everything. Your love for God was never about reward. That is why protection surrounds you. You don't need to change. You don't need to fix yourself. You don't need to become stronger. You already were. The only shift happening now is awareness. And once awareness locks in, nothing external can disrupt it. This is not encouragement. This is confirmation. Remain as you are. Proceed as you have been. What was meant to reach you has already done so.